Good morning, everyone. We're slowly collecting people, but first of all, warm welcome from us, from NCCG team. We will first share with you some organizational information, and only then we will dive into the program for today. I'm checking for the last editions in terms of participants. So to give a few minutes for others to join, again, warm welcome. We are starting the 6th, but the 2nd of this year NCCG meeting, which will be organized in a similar way that was the last one, meaning that you are very welcome to raise any questions you might have throughout the whole meeting in the chat, which you can see on the top bar on the left side. Please raise any questions, but also be aware that the question will be answered either orally at the end of each topic section, as you will see in the agenda, or can be also taken internally and provided as an answer in a follow-up, as usual now in the Q&A document. The meeting will be recorded and will be published if we can ensure that in the recording, no personal emails of participants or the whole names are visible. If this is possible to ensure, then we will be publishing the recording and you will be duly informed on the source or on the place where the recording will be stored. This is the main organizational set of tips. Unless I'm not forgetting anything, I would give the word to the MCCG conveners.
Yes, I can start perhaps shortly. So good morning, everyone. Warm welcome. Happy to be here again with a lot of participants. I think we're already at 180, I see. So that's very good. Numbers will rising. I think it's very important to have these kind of meetings from the market coupling side. We really find it very important to engage with market participants on the European market coupling projects that we have. I think for today, we do have, again, a very interesting agenda. Most topics will firstly be on the day ahead, an intraday 50-minute introduction, where we will spend first part of the agenda on. And then we will go towards operational timings linked to as well the 50-minute introduction beginning of next year, as well as second auctions. A reflection of the decoupling training with market parties, as this is a training that we organize on a frequent basis and we can always improve. So that's a reflection that we foresee. Then having a short coffee break foreseen. I hope we will manage to stick on the timing, given the busy agenda and topics. And then we shift to the second part where we will do a first experience exchange from our side as well as from market parties, where Helene, as market parties convener, will also share their experience. IDA went live on the 13th and the 14th of June. So that's good. There are some experiences that we can share, and we want to engage also with you on this part. Then we shift to the last topics on the agenda, which are the methodologies and updates on consultations done by NEMOs on the products for day ahead and intraday. An update on the roadmap, what we have ahead for us in the upcoming years and SDAC and SIDC side. And then also an important topic, co-optimization, where conveners from TSO NEMO side as well as market parties will share their standpoints and give an update on what is done currently on our side, as well as what is the discussion ongoing currently on this topic. And then we close with AOB, where from TSO sides there will be a short status update on how we foresee the implementation of the 30-minute intraday gate closure time that is foreseen in the electricity regulation, the updated one. So that's a bit the agenda we have today. I think many interesting topics. We will try indeed to keep it only in the morning. So it was a request that we received previously from market participants to keep it in a morning session and shorten it a bit. So that's what we did. We tried to make it in 3 hours and a half. That's quite busy, but we hopefully we can respect. And I will then give the word shortly to Pierre also, where he will also give an indication on the recent hiccups that we had this week, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Thomas. So new format, again, full transparency, meaning everything goes public. The session file you see on the screen today, it is already done. The vehicles are the same, ENTSO-E NEMO committee website. Meeting minutes and even recording will also follow after the meeting. So if you miss something today, you will have the opportunity to catch up at a later stage, and of course to dive into the Q&A or meeting minutes document. We want to insist on the point 1 of the agenda, which is not today officially present because it was unexpected. We want to start with the operational incident of last Tuesday, 2 days ago, in SIDC IDAs and SDSE, before we dive into the regular agenda. So we have here a proactive approach to shed some light on what happened. We will remain high level for many reasons. First of all, press releases will be issued by SDAC and SIDC. It is a question of hours before it is published now. It is very likely to be done today. EPEXPOT published also the one yesterday evening as an incident owner. I will also give the floor to one EPEXPOT representative, but we will not dive into the details. We are very happy to engage and to hear also as a, let's say, market players today. It is, however, too soon to conclude that an analysis led to conclusions in the last 24 hours. TSOs and NEMOs need to sit. Analysis at individual or joint level needs to be conducted. And only then we could list improvement options, recommendations in terms of fallback management. This is what is at stake. So we understood as well that from member associations, you would be happy to take the floor to give some feedback. So shall we start like that, Hélène, or do you want SIDC, SDSE to describe what happened first of all?
Maybe first, good morning, everybody. I will also just say a quick introduction. So Hélène Robet from ENGIE. I'm here on behalf of Eurelectric, so co-chairing the session on behalf of market participants today. So do not hesitate to raise many questions. I think it's good to have interactive participation to today's session. And to your question, Pierre, maybe I would start first with your explanations to avoid that we raise questions that you would answer, and then give the floor to people who might be willing to intervene or raise questions. Is that fine for you?
Yes, everything is fine. So as said, TSOs and NEMOs are publishing a press release today describing everything that will be said this morning. So we are anticipating what you will find already in the 2 pages being made public today. But in a nutshell, on Tuesday morning this week, EPEXPOT experienced an individual technical issue within the trading system during the IDA3 process. So the SIDC intraday auction of 10 a.m., the one that was newly implemented 2 weeks ago. These issues led to the cancellation as per the procedures of the intraday auction for all stakeholders. And this same issue also made EPEXPOT unable to close and provide order books for the day ahead auction 2 hours later at 12 o'clock, which led here to a partial decoupling situation. A partial decoupling of both EPEXPOT as a NEMO, because order books were missing, and a partial decoupling of the Nordic-Baltic region, as per the procedure and the fallback regional methodologies as well. These 2 regions are subject to a specific fallback management. So SDSE did not include Nordic-Baltic regions as of this point of time for the day-ahead auction. As of this moment, there were basically different streams. The SDSE completed the session with the parties that remain coupled. So basically you have SWE, IBWT, core parties, and so on. You had the Nordic-Baltic regional process that was ongoing by Nordic TSOs, Nord Pool EMCO, and EPEXPOT. Both of these processes led to successful, I would say, completion, meaning this Nordic-Baltic process was also completed in the afternoon, and the SDAC auction had applied the correct procedures to lead to a market results publication before the full decoupling deadline, so in line with the partial decoupling procedures. A third stream was the individual EPEXPOT matching of orders on especially the core markets, not the Nordic, because it was successfully coupled. The issue was solved rather quickly in the afternoon, but not sufficiently in time to ensure the core order books to be uploaded. So local auctions were performed. Back to normal after this point of time. The next rendezvous was IDA number 1 at 3 p.m. There were consequences because the Nordic Baltic region were still having in parallel this process. So there were not all parties present in this IDA 1 of the afternoon. IDA 2 at 10 p.m. was back to fully normal, and yesterday, Wednesday, was also a normal day for all intraday auctions and day-ahead auction. So this is in a nutshell what happened from the very high-level perspective in the market cascade, starting with IDA 3 and leading to back to normal IDA 2 within the day. I'm happy to leave the floor as well to proactively to one IPEX representative to shed some light on what happened for one of the stream that was potentially subject to a scrutiny over the last hours and days. So Zeynep is together with us to proactively shed some light, again high level, on what happened, what is next.
Thank you, Pierre. Hello, everyone. My name is Zeynep Alpan from EPEXpot. So indeed, I think you summarized already, Pierre. At EPEX, we had a technical issue on the trading system on Tuesday morning. This prevented us to move forward with, first of all, IDA 3 at 10 a.m. Therefore, we applied and followed both the SIDC and SDAC fallback procedures for IDA 1, for the IDA 3 first, and also on EPEX side on the IDA 1, where we had to cancel our participation, and then the day-ahead auction as well on Tuesday. This led to the application of the partial decoupling and Nordic regional coupling as described by Pierre just now. And we managed to fix the issue on Tuesday afternoon and have been running the auctions regularly since then. Of course, we are still examining and analyzing in depth the event, its root causes and its impacts. And we are fully committed to working on the consequences and consequently work on all possible improvements that we will draw and make from this analysis. Maybe one point to note, the complexity of the market, its processes, and the number of stakeholders will require an in-depth analysis in order to find the right solutions to the right problems. And we have, of course, immediately started this work and we'll continue it with all SDAC and SIDC partners.
Thank you, Zeynep. Any compliment from any SDAC, SIDC conveners or chairs before we leave the floor to the members and members associations?
Just perhaps one. I think perhaps not everyone in the call is aware, but indeed internally with MCSC, when such incidents happens, these are delegated to OPSCOM to indeed do a detailed assessment, of which then also a report will be published after I think 6 weeks it is. So that's, let's say, the lead time that was normally foreseen ultimately to publish. If it can be sooner, it can be sooner, but that's, let's say, the lead time foreseen as has been done before. So also from market party side, you will receive an elaborate report where this root cause is being described, and that will be then also shared to market parties. So if you're for the real detailed analysis, we are working on this as we do for all the other ones, and this will be also made publicly. So that's also where for the discussion today, we're happy to receive questions and have to enter in some discussions, but for sure we will also take the time to publish our answers in this report, and for sure we will not be able to answer all questions today yet. So also mindful of time in our other agenda. Perhaps, Hélène, I give the word to you indeed to give a first reaction.
Thank you for the explanation. There was just, I just got a clarification question before we give the floor. I know Jérôme for Energy Traders would like to intervene, but just a quick clarification question. Some market participants are asking me, to which extent are the IDAs and the SDAC interdependent? So they do not really understand how come that the issue with IDA 3 order book cascaded to the day-ahead auction. I don't know if you can elaborate on that from the power exchange side.
Can you repeat, Hélène, the question
So
exactly?
yeah, it's a bit surprising for market participants to hear that the issue is coming from the IDA 3. But maybe we misunderstood. But what we understood is that the IDA 3 order book created issue then for the SDAC auction. So they do not really understand the link.
No, you have to see it differently. The issue is coming from an individual system issue, the one Zeynep mentioned, the IPEX spot trading system, which was visible during IDA 3 in the morning, which led to the cancellation of this auction. But subsequently, the same issue had consequences on the day-ahead auction as well. So there is no cascading effect between the two, IDAs and day-ahead. It is just that the same issue was visible twice.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. It's not one that led to the other one, but our technical issue did not allow us to proceed in either one until we resolve it in the afternoon.
Okay, thank you, clear. I think then there is Jérôme who would like to intervene. If we can maybe give him the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Hélène, and thank you, everyone. And good morning. I'm Jérôme Lepage, chair of the Electricity Committee at Energy Traders Europe. Thanks for the opportunity to speak up and to foresee some time for discussion on this, or at least for reactions. We're looking forward to see further communication on this, and I'm happy that there will be a joint communication of the market coupling operators on this coming today. So first thing, it's an important incident. So it's not a hiccup. This is an important incident with significant consequences on a number of market participants. And I look forward also, and we look forward as market participants to see the results of the inquiry. Happy to know that it's already ongoing, and we look forward to a detailed report. Now, the practical consequences of this is we've had 2 day-ahead prices for each hours in a number of bidding zones. This has had cascading effects on a number of processes, but also on a number of it has created significant and unexpected exposures that were not necessarily manageable by those market participants affected. So this may require, this will result in further thinking from the market side on what position we take on the fallback procedures. And this is something definitely that we would encourage the NEMOs to look into in their report as well. The sanity of those fallback procedures, how all this can be approved, and how not only the incidents can be avoided, but also how we could remedy the fallback procedures and make them more sound in the future, so that we avoid finding ourselves in such situation. So for the moment, we don't necessarily want to take a position on what exactly should be done on those fallback procedures, but we do expect also from the NEMO side significant work and proposals on this front to avoid that the same thing happen if the same incident takes place with a partial decoupling. So from a general perspective, that will be it from us. We really look forward to a thorough incident report and suggestions for the way forward. Thank you very much.
Zeynep, please.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to thank you for your initial feedback. This is fully noted, and I only wanted to say that, of course, we really do not take this lightly and realize the seriousness of the incident.
Pierre, I see a question in the chat whether the event was or the issue was related to the ETS release. I don't know if you can answer that, or yes, Zeynep, thank you.
Well, we're still conducting the analysis, so I will not be able to answer for now. But yeah, we're looking at all the aspects, including this release.
There is one hand raised. Not yet.
Yeah, my question would be maybe whether we want to give word to participants or whether we would kindly ask to pose written questions in the chat.
I think we decided a long time ago to only allow speakers and representatives of market participants to speak. But of course, anybody can raise questions and it will be logged and answered through the Q&A, if not done during the session itself.
Yes.
So if possible, please kindly raise your question via the chat and we are happy to have a look at it.
Perhaps a first reaction on the other question on the chat, where the reaction is made that indeed these events led to a reform of the system. I think, of course, everyone can make its statements. I think there are different opinions. What, however, is to be indeed reminded is indeed if it's important to have very robust systems, and indeed in that sense we have had, despite the majority of the issue that EPEX had, which cascaded indeed to some big consequences. In general, the procedures have been followed, and of course, indeed, not everyone will be happy with them, but they have been followed, and they resulted in a proper execution, at least, of the SDAC or the local procedures as foreseen in Nordics. So in that sense, indeed, the procedures have worked, and we managed to couple the markets as it was foreseen in the situation that it does not work in a happy flow. Whether this would then lead to a single operator, there are different opinions on that. It is, of course, the other side would of course have been if there would only be one single operator that would have the failure, then nothing would have happened. So I think current market design is foreseen to at least have robustness and fallbacks that allow this. So in that sense, I think it's also something to be taken into account. But I think apart from that, I think we cannot go that much into specific statements. That will take us a bit too long from the discussions as such.
Okay, I would like perhaps to have the following steps being done. So the publication of the joint NIMOS-TSO press release will be done in the coming hours. It is already under preparation since the incident itself. Second, please channel all your questions through your member associations and your conveners in this MCCG so that we can have a robust compilation and the NIMOS-TSOs can come back on each of them if possible. And you heard us. The message was in line with, let's say, Jérôme expectations. Yes, analysis will be a deep analysis. Will be done, and some parties will be engaged into discussions to see how we can improve these fallback mechanisms. Hélène, Thomas, I propose we come back to the regular SDAC SIDC agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Would we first like to review the action points, or should we dive straight to the first agenda point, which would be the SDAC SIDC implementation?
I think, mindful of time, I think we can go to the agenda points. I think most of the topics will be addressed in the session file. I think if that's, unless there is any point, Pierre or Hélène, you wanted to highlight, but otherwise I suggest we
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
You will see it will be covered through the agenda. So one point might be still closed after the meeting, but you will find answers in the rest of the slide deck. I propose to jump in directly.
Okay, then I think we will go indeed to the SDAC SIDC 15-minute market time unit. So how will the go lives of 15 minutes be foreseen through Europe in both timeframes, for which we have conveners of SDAC Quorum, so the Quality Release Management Task Force, and SIDC OPSCOM chairs also who will take the presentation. Unfortunately, we do not have Adèle Roy with us due to some flight delays, but we have François Xavier, Benjamin Mousseau from SDAC, and Jaime and Martin from SIDC OPSCOM with us. Floor is yours.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So in order to introduce you the 15-minute SDAC Go Live planning, I would like first to introduce you with the Go Live sequence and the different requirements in order to achieve this goal of the 15-minute day ahead Go Live next year. So first, in order to shift from 60-minute MTO products to 15-minute MTO products in day ahead, there are two prerequisites. So the first one is the ISP switch from 60 or 30 minutes or 15 minutes to 15 minutes for all bidding zones. So this is the first prerequisite, which is needed and which is not yet implemented, as you know, in every bidding zone in Europe today. When this ISP 15-minute will be provided, then, of course, NEMOs are willing to provide the associated trending possibilities with the same granularity product. And the second condition and second prerequisite is, in order to have the 15-minute day ahead products, is to have before or simultaneously the 15-minute also within the intraday time frame. So in order to respect those conditions, now if I focus on the intraday versus the day ahead, there will be, you will see in a couple of minutes, there will see sequential go live windows for the 15-minute intraday switch that will be organized in batches of borders and bidding zones. And of course, the SDAC Go Live will be a big bang, as it was already agreed a few years ago, and that will be the last step. So it is just to explain you that when we look at the different dependencies, parameters to be respected, there is this order to be really respected. So with the ISP, which is the first prerequisite, and then the intraday switch before or together with the 15-minute day ahead, but it cannot be in the different order. The second important point is that for the intraday, there is the need to have the simultaneous switch together for continuous trading and IDA also. This is the other important point to have in mind. And as I already told you, but I repeat because it's very important, there will be the switch from current 60 or 30-minute intraday products to the 15-minute intraday products organized in a batch of borders and bidding zones right before the 15-minute day-ahead Bing Bong. So you have here the different conditions that we need to respect. And if we go now to the next slide, please, it can now really illustrate and explain what will be the detailed planning between the ISP go live, the intraday switch per batches of borders and bidding zones, and the Big Bang day-ahead 15-minute MTU Big Bang, when we take also in consideration the other go live dependencies that exist from 2 days up to the Big Bang in 25. So let's start with the first topic, the ISP. So you can see that the ISP, as it is required from the legal text, will be implemented at the latest in January 25. But some bidding zones are already with the 15-minute ISP, and you can see that some other bidding zones will gradually switch to 15 minutes even before end of this year, 2024. But what is sure is that all bidding zones will be in January 25 with the 15-minute ISP. Then, as I have also explained you, there is the need to switch for the intraday. Here, it's a bit the same. You will have different go-live windows already implemented, some to come very shortly during the year 2024, as you can see on this chart, with go-live in Poland, Czech Republic, in the Baltics, already in year 24, and then with a first batch in January 25, and a last batch in March 25. And maybe I can release the important information about the day-ahead Big Bang go live for 15-minute products in day-ahead. So it is planned to be on the 15th of March, trading day, 25. And the reason is based on all those dependencies. Yes,
it's not necessarily the 15th, but mid-March indeed. But it was 18th, I believe. Never
yes,
mind.
18th. Yes, did I say 15? It's a mistake. It's 18. We agree. Yes, so the reason is to organize all those different go live prerequisites before, and this is why we end in March. We also provide you all the day-ahead testing planning that is planned and which has already started. So currently in June, end of June, we are already into the site implementation test with functional tests which have already started, and that will last up to end of October, with then some more detailed procedural testing. And we will also organize member testing most likely in February. So more details will be shared a bit later, but this is planned to be in order to have this Big Bang go live, so on 18th of March 25. So I am done for this explanation of the planning and the dependencies. So maybe I can give you the floor.
We can highlight perhaps, François-Xavier, that the TSOs and NIMOs are not starting from scratch. It was already been started with the go live 2 weeks ago of the IDAs. And part of the bidding zone and the borders already experienced a final granularity than the hourly one. Namely, 15 minutes is implemented in many bidding zones. Intraday completions over the next month up to March next year, where the day ahead will also be subject to this transition. So this is really a transition plan with a holistic intraday day ahead view that you see. And the work already started years ago with the first piece of the puzzle visible since 2 weeks now in IDA.
Then I think we can jump on. Hello, thank you, François-Xavier, for the good explanation. I would jump this slide. I'd ask parties to look at it specifically, but for intraday, I might jump onto the next one, as it's easier to read through. So this is the conditions as is today. And in a few days, can you move next slide? We should have the Czechia going live on the 1st of July and all of its borders except specifically Poland. Then we will in November have the Baltic states and the intra borders of the Baltic states going live. The testing is expected to happen in September for this. Onwards to the next one. Then in January 2025, the majority of countries will go live in 15 minutes MTU. Both IDAs and continuous trading will be tested and will go live at the same time, just to point out. The only exceptions here in January will be specifically Portugal, Spain, and Greece, which will go live aligned with the Big Bang of day ahead precedents. And in relation to the testing of this January go live, our expected testing dates will be second half of November, still to be confirmed, second half of November and first half of December. With then Christina, next. With the last testing times for Spain, Portugal, and Greece to be tested second half of January and first half of February in intraday and continuous trading.
There are a couple of questions in the chat, or at least one. I don't know if we take them now before going to day ahead, maybe, no?
I think we can. So it starts with a question from Sylvia, I believe. The batch of NEMOs that will implement 15 minutes in intraday in Windows 4 and 5. So namely the two windows in Q1. Are they already known? This is a question.
I answered it. I answered it already on the chat because I think that's what's in the table that is on slide 9 that we shortly skipped. But I think
I see your answer.
Yeah, I think if you can go shortly to slide 9, Christina. So here you can see in the middle column when the planned go lives is there for specific countries. So you have Spain, for example, planned to go live on the 18th of March. And others where it's either already implemented or where it's foreseen January, which is then corresponding to wave 4, the January one, or November for example, the Baltic states, which is then the according wave.
Yeah, it should all be visible here, so it's quite transparent. It's just heavy to read through.
So the different windows are elaborated border per border, bidding zone per bidding zone on this slide deck, as highlighted by Thomas. So it gives you some light on this numbering, and you see these go live windows 2 to 5, where to find the relevant one.
Yeah.
Jérôme had a question or a remark on the length of the member testing for the day ahead transition. So basically, expectations are that it should be lasting some months, not necessarily only weeks, as we understood from the statement. It is also something that members associations are diving into later on in this presentation. What will be the appropriate duration of member testing? But point taken for the NEMOs, starting in January might be a bit too late. We will reconsider that. At least we notice that you need more than 2 months before member testing and the go live, if we translate it this way. There is a question from Lorenzo. What are the technical limitations of some borders to not switch to a final time resolution? Thomas, do you or Martin, do you have some, or Benjamin, some elements here on why the cross-border is sometime waiting?
What is the question exactly, Pierre? Or maybe Martin, you understood better than I did.
Yeah, that's also my question. Generally, the border will follow the country which is latest to be transitioned into 15 minutes. So it's local capacity, but if you see, for example, in the Spain, France will already be in January, but the Spain-France border will only go live aligned with the Spanish capability of managing 15 minutes MTU. There's also another question on the go live in January. Yes, 1st of January. This is out of the question just because it's holidays, etc. It's expected. Exact go live date is not defined, but second half of January.
And coming back to the question of Lorenzo on the borders management, if we come back to the map from November, if we scroll up, this one, the perfect example would be the internal Nordic borders. So we have 2 bidding zones at 15 minutes time resolution, but not the border. The same for Polish borders. These are the targeted borders, for example, for this question. I don't know if we have some elements on TSO sides yet.
I'd need to check that specifically, case by case. It relates to system capabilities, to be honest, but I need to check that specifically why each of the cases, because they are different.
I think that's it for the questions, right?
Did we answer? There was, wait, because there is one I'm not sure we answered. The risk due to the gap of going live with intraday in between January for intraday and March for the heads. I don't know if we took it. Did we?
No, I don't think so, but I think it's that there is a go live for intraday before the one of day ahead. That's, let's say, a bit the expected go live sequence, as François Xavier explained. So you have first the imbalance settlement period that has to be on 50 minutes. Then indeed, once the local NEMO trading systems as well as the SIDC ones can support it, we go to the 50 minutes. And then afterwards we go to the day ahead, or the intraday and the day ahead can be coming together. But it is for most of the countries, I think apart from Spain, you will have always first intraday continuous and intraday auctions going towards 50 minutes and then day ahead.
Okay.
Just perhaps in general, I do also see quite a lot of questions on capacity calculation. This is indeed, of course, indeed market coupling is with regards to the market coupling of the bids and the allocation of it, which is done in the central processes. You do also all the capacity calculations. I think here, and I know this is an answer that sometimes is a bit perceived as not the one that you would like to have, but the capacity calculation parts, the whole process over there, I think there are also on the specific regions where capacity calculation is performed, specific fora where these topics can be discussed. So you have the core consultative group as well, I think, on which there are regular meetings also. So we can try to align with them, but these are not answers that we can on the fly reply over here, as they are dealt with within the regional scope of the TSO corporations, where there also are open and transparent engagements with market parties. I think so. That's a general reflection also on this part. Checking if we missed any other questions.
I don't think so. We will log the questions related to Hungary and Croatia. Not sure TSOs and NEMOs can answer anything yet today. So we will log them. We saw a bunch of questions related to that. It will be logged and part of the Q&A. All right, then.
Yes, let's move on to the head.
Yes, please, Benjamin.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let's move on to the head, as we said. As Martin and François Xavier already stressed, transitioning to 15 minutes brings up multiple challenges. Changes to not only the systems, but also the procedures. The main challenge being keeping the performance of the systems to their maximum capabilities. So, as explained before, in an effort to optimize this major change, the TSOs and the NEMOs have decided to come up with this so-called Bing Bang Go Live, where all the bidding zones, all the countries reflected here in green on the map will move to 15 minutes on the 18th of March as planned. And all the interconnectors in red will move to 15 minutes. There is one exception to this, and this is the single electricity market in Ireland that will remain in 30 minutes MTU. Again, on the 18th of March, on the go live date, all those areas will be traded in 15 minutes. I think we understand from the discussion that you would require more testing or more test sessions to be ready to adapt your systems, the preparation of your teams. This will take into consideration, of course, within SDAC Quam and in cooperation with the other groups, TSOs and NEMOs, to see if we can do something about it. But the goal here is, of course, to have everybody prepared, everybody ready, and move on with a very smooth transition to this major update of the market. If there is any question, happy to answer. Don't hesitate, use the chat. Seems not. Very good.
So again, what Benjamin just described is the completion of the transition. The last piece of the puzzle will be the day ahead Big Bang. So the NEMOs not deviating from what we announced years ago. We go Big Bang and it completes the transition. Yeah, so once ISP and IDA have moved on to 15 minutes, then their head will be the last piece of the puzzle. And as from the 18th of March, everything within this area will be traded within 15 minutes, exception being Ireland. If there is no question, then let's move on, I suggest. And I give the floor to Joël.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Jo Luxema. In the PCR group, I convene the group responsible for managing the Euphemia development. And in that capacity, I was asked to say a few words on the public description. Perhaps, Christina, if we move to the next slide. This point was also raised in the previous session of the MCCG already. Reiterating the importance and relevance of having a public description of Euphemia available to market participants, also outlining the changes that come with a 50-minute implementation. Perhaps if you read the text, or perhaps you've already read the text on this slide ahead of today's session, you see that this slide was meant to be the announcement of the availability of the public description. Unfortunately, the document is still being reviewed. The document is, of course, a rather technical document having to do with the description of how the algorithm functions. And we received some final comments questioning if perhaps some of the technical details were too difficult to understand for perhaps not the algorithmic experts. I imagine the document will continue to be quite dense and perhaps will not be the easiest to understand, but we will use the next few days to try to also address those improvements so that that document can indeed be published, because we do, of course, acknowledge that it's important that everyone has access to this information in preparation of the 50-minute go live. And then perhaps the most important updates that you will find in this document then relate also to the topic of that previously led to questions about how the cross product matching works, especially for the curves, and perhaps also answering some of the questions that were already surfacing regarding the block orders or some of the other order types Euphemia supports. Yeah, and then lastly, I just noted a minor detail. I think in the slide before, Benjamin presented the go live of 50 minutes in all the bidding zones. When we were preparing Euphemia to be able to cope with the 50-minute, the target has always been this Big Bang implementation. Still, we did not want to technically impose constraints by the unavailability of a single bidding zone to be ready for a 50-minute switch to result in not being able to support the 50-minute introduction. So for those of you familiar with the core flow-based market, you may recall that we have this LTA in implementation where Euphemia enlarges the core flow-based domain to always cover the long-term allocation domain. And this LTA extension feature resulted in quite some complications for Euphemia to then support non-harmonized MTUs for the different bidding zones within the same flow-based region. So this is just a warning that perhaps the LTA inclusion text that you will find in the public description once it is made available may read quite may come across quite complex, but of course, as long as we manage to implement the Big Bang, it will actually be much more manageable, but the document needs to cover what has actually been implemented in Euphemia. And then perhaps we already have some questions in the chat. I don't know if someone
Yes,
can
there are
help
questions
me.
in the chat. First on the Euphemia description, if there is a date for the publication.
No, as I explained, I had hoped it would be already available today. I understand the question. I think the review is now scheduled for next week, and then I don't know if some of the other parties here can comment on a date, or if we still don't have a date, we are ready to commit to.
You are correct, Joel. So we targeted, Hélène, the publication around MCCG. Basically, it was scheduled for today or shortly before. It is now set for a last fine-tuning in the coming 2 to 3 working days, with the final approval next week for a publication right after. So this is the situations we are in to make really sure the document is meeting expectations. So it's a question of days now before the publication is done. So the document is 98% ready. Good. Nothing else on this topic. All right. Then let's move on. We dive now into the other side of the coin. Please, Hélène, jump in. We are here discussing the feedback from market participants through the associations.
Yes, thank you. So this is something we prepared with the market associations. It's the, let's say, list of all pending questions. Of course, some of them might be answered today, but we just wanted to wrap up and provide a full list of all the points that our members have been raising over the last weeks and months. First point is related to timing and timeline and planning, but we already discussed it briefly before. So on the go live, I think our members think it was really key to have a fixed and clear go live date, which is as far as possible from the holidays and the winter season. Knowing because it's really key to ensure safe operations, and winter period is always tricky, and especially holidays. So we really suggested to avoid that. So basically, we would like to know the date, and also an important point, what happens if some market participants are not ready, and also if some NEMOs are not ready. So what about rollback or backup solutions? On the fallback and rollback, exactly this point. So, some market participants request to have a rollback, fallback procedures if something doesn't go as expected. So we would like to know the status of that. On the member testing, the details, we just discussed it before. So I understand there was now a provision to have them in February, but it was mentioned it was too late. So I think this should be reconsidered, as well as some concerns on the duration of the member testing. So I think more clarity on that is welcome, but I think we already discussed it. A question on the outcomes of this testing, in particular in terms of liquidity. Will we have a public reporting on these testing or not, or how will this information be made public? So I don't know if we stop here or if I do the whole slides. What do you prefer, Pierre?
I suspect we can already dive into the 2 subsequent slides, because we already get from TSOs and NEMOs some answers, like rollback period principles, MTUs proposed everywhere in Europe. In the coming 2 slides, Christina, if we can scroll down, we can shed some light on some elements already. Yes, so this slide is an overview which is made public by the NEMOs on the granularity of the product that are going to be proposed in SDAC as of the go live next year. So you see the different mapping of this 15, 30, 60 minutes product usage. It was one of your questions from the market participants and associations. It is now made public. So what you see on the screen are the testing conditions that will also be used in SDSC and the go live picture, obviously. On the next slide, I'm not sure if it is not Benjamin or François-Xavier who are presenting this slide. Otherwise, we are happy to do it with Thomas. It's all about the rollback plan, indeed, for the day ahead go live as well. Do you want to dive in, Benjamin or François-Xavier?
I can, if you want, Pierre.
Oh, Adèle, you are connected. Please go ahead.
Yes, sorry for the delay. So we are still drafting the rollback plan. That is the first thing I want to emphasize on this slide. And we have first dived in what is feasible technically. So as you can see, we have two way forwards. The first one is a rollback, which corresponds to a switchback to 60-minute configuration and the systems as they were the day before the 15-minute go live, actually. But today, we are also investigating in parallel corrective measures. So what can I say on the rollback is that we know that it's not going to be exactly the same configuration as the day before the go live, because we know that some products cannot be changed or discontinued. Also, some systems have technical limitation, and on operational timing, we might have some troubles to apply a firm rollback. So we are investigating in detail what does it mean with all regional parties, NIMOs and TSOs too, and we hope to come back with a more detailed plan, hopefully in September. And in parallel, we are working on corrective measures, which will be the first and the principal measure that we will take before going to a rollback, which means correcting any potential issue with the Euphemia algorithm performance. And those are also being studied by both NIMOs first and TSOs also to analyze what we can do after any issue, if there are, after the 15-minute go live. So basically, what we can say is we are still working on it, and we hope to give you more detail in the next MCCG, including the procedures, because I heard that you were requesting some procedural documentation, and this one is being drafted, and we hope to do so during the summertime with the help and the support of ESDAC Opscom. So those are the first elements. I don't know if there are any questions.
Adèle, do the TSOs and NIMOs already have some view on the duration of the monitoring period during which a decision could be taken to roll back, or it is not known yet?
Not known yet.
Okay.
It's part of the discussion of this summer.
Okay. So Hélène and all the members and for the audience, yes, there will be a principle of rollback for the day ahead. It is confirmed. We go back to the previous state of the affairs as it was the day before the go live. Still, some specificities needs to be fine-tuned for some TSOs or NIMOs. So more details to come in the coming months. And on the length of the monitoring period as well, we need to come back to the audience for that. But it is confirmed as a principle.
If
Okay.
I may, I have a question for you, Hélène, regarding the member tests. So we noticed some remarks already on the test dates and the test duration. Could we have a feedback from the members and from you on what would be the ideal duration of the member test? Because actually we did it NIMOs and TSO all together, knowing that NIMOs are interrogating their market participants, but it would be interesting if we could have some feedback from you too, as what would be the preferred way forward for the member test.
Okay, I think we will come back to you, but as a preliminary feedback, what we had as a feeling for the testing of the IDA, but I'll come back to that later on, is that the testing were not sufficient. as a general feeling. So maybe taking lessons from that, what is really key is to ensure good testing. Then, of course, the question is, what is a good testing? But I think giving a duration without having a clear description of what exactly is tested, so a kind of description of how the testing will take place, is a bit difficult. So of course, it's important to have sufficiently long testing to cover, to test several times and to cover several situations. But it's also, I would say, at least as of equal importance to ensure that the features that we test are sufficiently broad. So do we talk about organizing, like in parallel, a real day-ahead session in 15 minutes? Or do we talk about testing some specific features? Do we talk, you know, it's really, I think at this stage, we don't have a clear view of what will be tested exactly. So I think it deserves some additional detailed discussion. So maybe we could organize a dedicated quick call or session on that to discuss exactly how the testing would look like. We could bring a few experts, or I don't know how we can organize that, but some members are telling us that they want a very long period, like a 6 months period, but I guess it's not the intention to organize a real day-ahead parallel session during 6 months. I think maybe that would be too heavy, I don't know. Or, yeah, so long story, long answer to your question, but just to tell you that we need, I think, more discussion with you to see what would make us safe all together for the go live.
Okay, I'm really okay for continuing the discussions indeed.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, so Hélène, what we will channel through the quorum also will be the split between what is done by individual NEMOs. As a practice, we see that individual NEMOs are, you know, opening simulations environment of trading systems, proposing some support for given enhancement, and they all have different ways to do it, but it is to be done, and it will be done. We are talking here about the centralized and jointly coordinated end-to-end member testing, which are not necessarily, you know, 1 year long, on the contrary to the simulation environment of individual NEMOs, but only a few days or weeks or months long. As a practice here, we are running the auction with, I'm not saying production-like, but realistic data, following the production timings or equivalent within the morning or afternoon. We will be focusing in these end-to-end sessions on the two things visible for market participants, which are slightly updated operational timings and the 15-minute granularity itself. All other features and modifications will, of course, be tested with individual NEMOs or TSOs or clearinghouse individually.
Okay.
I'll just make this split again. There are more training than the only jointly centralized testing. That's for sure.
Okay, but then I think what is really key is to have a written, so a note or a document that we can also share with all the members, explaining what is tested, just what you said, what is tested centrally, what each NEMO is supposed to test locally. So to have really a non-ambiguous description of who is testing what and how. Then for the central test, so from the MCSC, have a clear description of what will be tested centrally. I can also say that for us, it's important to have a robust test environment that will replicate the future. So to ensure that, you know, the testing environment is equivalent or very similar to the real environment. I think it's also important to have a feedback loop so that we can raise questions and get answers during the testing, because probably during the testing we'll discover some questions or some issues or some unclarity that then are important to solve. We also suggest that on the data sample that it's important that we can test the multiple granularity. So testing 15, 30 and 60 minute products. So yeah, and then on the duration, as I said, it's difficult to give you a clear or strong views, but for sure it should be long enough. As I said, some of our members stay 6 months, some say some weeks, but again, it really depends on how and what we test. But happy to continue the discussions then to clarify this.
Okay, point taken. And this will be channeled through the quorum body in SDSC. So Adèle and Benjamin will dive into that in the coming weeks.
Then maybe we come back to the to our slides. Yes, and just coming back on the go live date or the go live moment, it was not yet a position we had time to discuss fully within the associations before giving you the slides, but now we confirm that with our members that we can already tell you that in addition to doing it as far as possible from holidays and winter, we would really advise to do the go live on the first day of a month, and if possible, even on the first day of a quarter. So 1st of April. Why? The reason is that by doing so, you avoid having a month which has part of it under the 24 time buckets and part of it under the 96 time buckets. And for all our processes, IT systems, especially, for instance, to manage all the spot index contracts that many market participants have in their position, not having to deal with a month or a quarter with the two different granularities is key. So there is a shared view that avoiding the middle of a month is a key requirement. So 1st of April would be much preferred over 18th of March. That's an additional point on the timing.
Okay. Clearly, TSOs and NEMOs will be happy to see if it is a hard constraints or not. Hélène, just to take the temperature, is it something you still discuss with the members or not necessarily?
I think we have discussed it, and the first feedback was indeed that it's way better. But I don't know, maybe also Jérôme, you can share the view of energy traders to confirm that it's indeed confirmed position on your side, or maybe thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Hélène, thank you. So indeed, we recently just discussed this. For the moment, the preliminary feedback is that indeed we would support a go live on the 1st of April rather than the 18th of March, including for the alignments with monthly contracts, etc. So that would really ease our work. We can continue discussing this, of course, with the NEMOs and TSOs, but that's the feedback that we get on our sites.
Thank you, Jérôme. Does that answer the point, Pierre, or would you need something more, I don't know, something additional on this from our side?
Well, this is something we need to take amongst TSOs and NEMOs for sure.
Yeah, of
so
course.
This is the first time we hear it. Huh? So it just collides with the date we proposed 10 minutes ago. As you can imagine, we need to discuss it amongst TSOs and NEMOs.
Of course. But then come back to us if there is anything you need in addition from us.
Maybe, sorry, just a question to Pierre and Thomas. Do you need an official request from our side, from the different associations active in this group? Would that ease the discussion on your sides?
All elements are welcomed. Yes, Jérôme, that's for sure. On the why and the rationale, of course, so that we know if it's a hard constraints or not. Just to make it very clear, we all have to compromise in terms of, let's say, go live management. So if it is a hard constraint, it's very much different than if you have workarounds or easy approaches like alternatives. So please come up with additional elements, but we will already take it within TSOs and EMOS community.
Okay, great. Yeah, and then we'll be happy to understand the constraints on your sides, be it technical or agenda constraints around either the 18th of March or the 1st of April. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Okay, so just checking at the chat, I think there are some comments indeed that there is really expectation on the testing plan. So I think we can take note as a takeaway of this discussion that on the market side, we really expect a detailed plan on the testing with a description of the test, what will be tested, how, by whom, and again on the schedule of this testing. I think we need to review as soon as possible because February indeed seems a bit far away. Okay, so on the next point, it's about the processes. We just wanted to come back on the consultation of products. I think this tackles both the intraday, so the SIDC and the SDAC products. So we know there is this consultation foreseen by CACEM every 2 years. But just we suggest that the format is a bit maybe rigid and not inclusive enough and can lead to misunderstandings as we had this year with the mandatory products that are not understood as mandatory by all NEMOs. We really regret this interpretation of mandatory products. I'm referring here to the multi-time resolution products that are so handled by the coupling algorithm, but not offered by all NEMOs. And so to avoid this kind of last minute bad discovery, if I may say, we really urge to have a recurrent discussion in this meeting in the MCCG as an anticipation of the consultation. So it's more a call for in the future having a better preparation of this consultation and about the products in general. So let's say no very quick point, but a point to take with us for the future.
To be very specific, Hélène, if we go to the slide just after, the communication is done and the compilation was done, we would say, among the NEMOs. Just after, sorry, Christina, we had this mapping of the product offered. Yeah, this is the slide you are referring to, which is covered by this slide, I assume, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But we discovered, so the consultation on the SDAC product, I think, took place, I'm not sure now, in November or December, if I'm right.
Correct.
And this slide, we had it, so we asked you to produce it, and thanks for that because it's very useful. But, I think in the consultation of the SDAC product, it would have been nice to know that although there is a list of mandatory products, that's not all NEMOs are understanding this as mandatory. For instance, it's just a case where we really had in mind, we really pushed to have this multi-time resolution in the list of mandatory products. That was before then the end of 2023. And then early 2024, we were happy to see that indeed it was included in the list of mandatory products. But then we discovered that the mandatory products are actually not mandatory. So this is also a point we will bring with us for CACM 2.0, because clearly this is not acceptable. And I know it does not concern all NEMOs, but just it's an illustration of case to show that maybe some more dialogue is welcome on the list of products in general.
So you are referring to the green part of the map, or even the yellow? Or what is the point exactly? To be very specific, so that we can take it up in the community.
So in the short term, there is a very strong disappointment by market participants that not all NEMOs are offering the mandatory products. So in particular, here we see that on the green part, there is no possibility for market parties in Spain and Portugal to access the 60-minute products. So that's a big disappointment here, although it's in the list of mandatory products. So let's say that that's the short-term point. Then on the longer term, we think that we should profit from the every 2-year consultation on products to anticipate this kind of issue and to have a more inclusive and constructive dialogue on the list of products.
Understood. Please, Cosimo, our NEMO chair, would like to intervene as well.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Just a question to better understand. You know that this way of interpreting CSCM is in place since pretty 10 years. We always had countries not offering mandatory products, as being the case for block products not used everywhere. So this is not a news. So my question for you is this something which is specific to this case of these MTUs? So there is a specific business case which is of particular relevance for you, or are you targeting the concept as such? So basically you want the same product offering wherever, independent on which other products?
I think to ensure, so the urgent or short-term issue is very specific to the 60-minute product, but then as a general standpoint, and in terms of market integration and putting everybody on the same level playing field, I think we consider that there should be access to the list of mandatory products for all market participants in Europe. Of course, there can be transition plan, and I understand there were some local specificities that needed to be addressed, maybe to access all the products. But I think we should all together work towards giving the access to all the products to everybody. I don't know if my colleagues, maybe from Eurelectric or Energy Traders, wants to complement on that, or yeah, Selim, thank you.
No. Sorry, fully agreed with what you just said, Hélène. So far, we haven't got to the point of saying that we want all the products available everywhere in Europe, but the methodology is here to agree on a list of products that are considered as the minimum requirements for sort of harmonization around Europe. And the list of products is called mandatory products, and it's very surprising that some NEMOs don't think they're mandatory in our view. I hope this answered the question.
Yes, just to clarify that here we are not talking about an interpretation. CSCM is quite specific in stating that MCO function has to support mandatory products and nothing more. Once more, this has been in place since pretty 10 years. We got no blocks in Spain or in Italy. Now we will have in Italy. So this is not something new. So what I'm understanding now is that you are raising on top of the specific request of the 15 minutes, a principal issue which you expect to be tackled into the revised CSCM. Okay, thank you.
But please, Selim and Hélène, please be very specific, because it does not seem to be a all NEMO issue. You are just here having one message. In the green zone of this map, the hourly product should be available. Is that a good summary?
That for the short term, yes, that's a very good summary. So for the go live of the 15-minute MTU, yes, the green map, the green part should also give access to the 60 minutes product to their market participants. But let's say that in general, for the future, I think there's a reflection to have on the mandatory product in general. So you want to complete or to comment?
Yeah, no, just to support the request and we can name the NEMO in question. So definitely a request towards OMIE to provide 60-minute products in addition to 15-minute products. We understand the legal difference between making sure that the algorithm accommodates different types of products, and that's what the mandatory products in the methodology refer to, and what individual NEMOs are offering. Nonetheless, and here we're talking about really the basic products, not even complex products. We think that at the very least, like the same basic product should be available in the coupled area. So that's a very clear request from us for OMIE to work towards making 60-minute products available to market participants.
Okay, we will log the point. It was not discussed among the NEMOs so far, so we will take this point. You can also engage bilaterally the discussion, obviously, with this NEMO, but we will take the point in the community.
Thank you. Yeah, our members have already raised the concern several times to OMIE. So indeed, I think at least a feedback from this meeting via the MCSC would be very much welcome. Okay, then there's a point on the second auction removal. So we discussed that, I think, already in previous meetings. I think we understand that with the switch to 15 minutes, there's a high pressure on the timing for the heads, so fully understood. So we welcome or we understand the need to, let's say, streamline or review the processes. We agree with the need, of course, and we really need to have systems or processes in place to ensure safety nets to handle errors. I think it is really essential. So we took note of the proposal to implement or to maintain, for where it exists, a principle of second calculation. But I think at this stage, there are still many questions remaining on how exactly this second calculation process would be handled in practice. So first, in terms of process, we would like clarity on the next steps. So what is going to be discussed or decided in the coming months. And then in the content, more explanation on how the NEMOs identify wrong bids. So what are the criteria for that? Then how are the market messages going to be published? How will the second calculation work in details? So very practically and with detailed feedback. And what about the level of harmonization of practice between NEMOs we can expect? So in particular, for instance, on the detection of erroneous bids, to which extent are best practices or rules shared between NEMOs, and what is, how is this process? Is it subject to some harmonization or not?
Okay, then I suspect we can already dive into the NEMO's message then. For this second auction, we are talking about SDAC here. We have a dedicated plan for that. We anticipate a little bit the after-work session. So yes, part of the answers are included in this slide. And so the NEMO's plan will be the associations to remove the SDAC second auction as of next year. So January, for all bidding zones present in the SDAC, except the Baltic region. Some discussions were engaged with some regulatory authority in this region, so it will be at the point where 15 minutes are introduced into the SDAC. So NEMOs are proposing this removal for early next year. removal, which goes hand in hand with this reinforcement that is already actually a practice for many months of errors detection and operational safety nets, as you call it. It was already applied for some event and transparent for the market, except the individual market parties who made the error. So NEMO's intend to publish another Q&A document in the coming hours and days. It is supposed to be before this weekend even, Hélène, on this second calculation process and detection of errors. NEMO's have in common these joint processes to trigger the second calculation process. So if an error is detected, what is officialized is that after the gate closure time, a correction is possible after 12 o'clock. Not only before, and here NEMO's insist on the fact that market participants should as well reinforce their checks and individual processes. We are almost saying as if NEMO's had no check, which is obviously not the case. But as a third layer, we are adding the active processes to have corrections made after the gate closure time, which means that a second calculation could be triggered and only a few minutes of delay of the market result could be experienced. We call here for a proportionate usage of these exceptional processes. It is not supposed to be used every day, this after gate closure time correction. We really rely on before gate closure time identification and correction. It will be published before the weekend. They are already ready and approved among the NEMOs. The proposal is now to remove second auction as of 2025, January, or for the Baltic case linked to the 15-minute project. We had some discussions amongst conveners on what is the level of harmonizations into the checks and so on. What we see among the NEMOs is that even from the market participant perspective, there are different sensitivities to what is an error. The point in time when the error is being requested to be modified is also different. The products are different. The liquidities or the trading patterns of the market participants are also different, which makes not fit for purpose to have one civil golden rule for all Europe for this detection. It will not happen. Still, the joint process is harmonized with regards to this correction after 12 o'clock. This is a message. And this is this third layer that we make robust and official among the NEMOs. We still insist on the fact that as much as possible, everything should be identified and corrected before 12 o'clock on member sides or NEMO side, depends. This is a message we can bring today as NEMOs, and the further document will be published again in the coming 2 days.
Okay, I don't know if there are questions. I don't see questions on that, so I think I would then really invite market participants to read the documents that are published and that will be published, and to revert to us with questions or comments. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes, it will be present on the NEMO committee website again. It's a question of days now.
I'm just thinking out loud, but also on the testing for the 15 minutes, maybe it would be relevant then to include, to foresee some testing about this second calculation. So to foresee, I don't know if that has to be centrally or locally, but to be sure that market parties are trained on, receiving the message from their NEMO about an erroneous bit, being aware about what happens then and how this second calculation will take place. I think the recent event can only encourage everyone to train better on this kind of issue. So I would recommend to at least to have part of the testing incorporating this.
Good. We take the point, and yes, it is definitely a simple thing to include this in the testing scenarios for next year. Yes, for sure.
If I may, it's already in the test plan, so be reassured. We just
Okay,
have to
great.
present it, but it is.
Okay, thanks. All right, then we can go to the next slide, slide 20. Then the next point is about our questions or comments on the algorithm products and indexes. So the first one being to have the description of Euphemia, so the updated one published ASAP, but I think we already tackled it today. There was a question on the time calculation extension, whether there is a formal confirmation on the timing extension, so the +3 for the final and +6 for the preliminary.
Hello, it's Mario here. Do you hear me, first of all?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, this is the last indication. Clearly, we are shortening on other parts, as experience also in the last few days has shown the processing globally delicate. I mean, there are, in any case, yes, the idea is that, but the shortening of the confirmation phases is something that will be then tested with real data. At the moment, the hypothesis remains the one already indicated in the past.
Okay, thank you.
So to confirm, so
okay,
yeah, so to confirm, I think it's really the plan A to have this timeline of the 3 and 6 minutes as we published in the previous MCCG, but of course it's something that is subject to the testing that is foreseen then later this year, because then it's only when we are certain that we can combine it. But this is really the steps that we've taken to mitigate the impact also on market parties, and we will do our utmost best indeed to make sure that we can continue with plan A. But it's indeed, as mentioned here, also subject to successful testing towards the end of the year.
Yes, we are doing, all parties are doing their best in order to confirm this, but when we will do it in practice, this will be the final confirmation of that.
But sorry, but I'm just to be sure I understood. Huh? So it will be confirmed after the testing, but the testing, do you refer to the member testing that are now planned in Feb, or do you refer to other testing?
Well, first of all, internal testing that will be done before, then clear the amount of data, because we are shortening the preliminary and the final confirmation, but the amount of data is multiplying more or less by 4. So we will see that the shortening of these timings will be compatible with the increase of amount of data. So it's clear that, I mean, this is the idea. It's clear that if in the test we see that we are in delay a good high percentage of times, those timings cannot be confirmed and will be slightly extended. The first test will be internal ones, trying to simulate how the market participants will work on this, will simulating a possible market participant behavior, and the last one will be the one with market parties. When we will enter in those, we hope to be already sure if the timings can be confirmed or will be moved. But the idea is to try to confirm it.
Yeah, I understand. What I can just repeat on behalf of market participants is that, as already explained several times, we really need a period of, I don't know how many months, but at least a few months between the moment where everything is clear and you know, confirmed and the go live. So it's really key that we make it very clear that if there are still doubts or still points to be tested or some unclarity, you know, we cannot say that everything will be clear and confirmed only a few weeks before the go live. This is really tricky on market participant side. So take note of the need on NEMO side to perform additional testing before confirming the time extension. But if you can please take with you that there's also a need for freezing, I don't know how we can call it, but a freezing period once everything is confirmed before the go live to be able to adjust everything on market participant side. So we won't solve it today, but please take this with you, and we'd be happy if from the MCSC this need for a freezing period is considered and reported.
Yes, we will do it. We will do our best. I expect that if something will change, which is not foreseen now, it's about, in any case, few minutes and not big extension, which can affect clearly, but it should be in worst cases some minutes. I don't expect 15 minutes of delay from the expected from the schedule that we have already provided.
Okay. Then on the product and indexes, coming back to the map you provided, so it's indeed very much welcome to have this map. There was, I mean, just I think the answer is yes, but can we consider this as a formal approval or formal confirmation about the availability of products? There was then the question whether a similar map can be done, but for the broader catalog of products, so knowing who is offering, which NEMO is offering which products in which bidding zone. And then similar question related to the indexes. So the indexes, we refer here to the price curve. So the publication of prices after the clearing. So the question is, for instance, but not limited to, the publication of a 60-minute index as a, let's say, continuation of the current 60-minute curves that are published by NEMOs today. And whether, so we can have a list about that with a description of how it is computed. For instance, what about the decimal rounding? Also, what if in a bidding zone where there are several NEMOs active, whether there is a common methodology to compute such a 60-minute curve or not? And will there be only, I mean, a similar or same price curve shared between the NEMOs operating in a bidding zone?
On this point, the answer is no. The NEMOs are not cooperating, let's say, beyond MCO for now, Hélène. So there is no strict need to do it so far. Still, there are some shared logic, might be, among the NEMOs, but we are not cooperating to provide this overview. Again, it goes beyond the strict perimeter of MCO, as we are talking. It definitely has to go through the channel market participants towards its NEMO, that's for sure. But centrally, we are not going to produce such an overview. I'm referring here to the index, the last question you mentioned.
And on the catalog of other products like the smart block, is it similar than feedback at this stage?
The catalog, I mean, it's already public, which NEMO offer which product. So you already have the info. On the contrary to the MTU's change, there is no drastic change introduced by the 15 minutes product. Expect what we communicated today with this mapping, and the change in Italy that Cosimo was referring to. Apart from that, it is a well-known situation, I would say. No drastic change. So,
okay. Okay, on the indexes, maybe a reaction. So take note that it's not, let's say, mandated by the MCO task at the moment. Thinking for the future, I would really invite NEMOs to discuss this and think about improvements there. I think the access to reference prices is really key, and now with the switch to 15 minutes and the multi-time resolution, I think the problem becomes even more relevant. As we said, there are many contracts and positions that are spot price indexed. Some will move to 15 minutes reference, some maybe not, or at least not in a transition, not at D-Day. So I think it's something on which we would invite NEMOs to collaborate and to further think about a possible, at least sharing of best practices, and at best publication of price curves in common. I think that's something we would call for reflection, at least on that. So if you can take that as a takeaway of this meeting for reflections within the NEMO community, I think it would be most welcome. The next point was on the smart block limits. We also discussed it at previous meeting. So we take note, we understand that there's no significant increase foreseen at the moment. We also refer to our previous presentation explaining that it could be problematic for proper optimization on flexible assets in a 96 time bucket environment. We just wanted to check here what's the plan and what's the next discussion or the next milestones foreseen there. We understood that NEMOs conducted some individual I don't know how you could say, not inquiries, but some individual discussions or checks with their clients, their members, and we wanted to know what is the next step on this.
Yes, I do not know if we have our MSD experts present in the call for the SDAC part today, Maria and Timo. Yes, we received from market associations this theoretical limits implied by the final granularity, not realistic anticipated usage. We have to insist on that. We did not receive it, but so far we saw no reason to increase the number of smart blocks in the simulation up to the theoretical limits you conveyed a few months ago, which were anywhere a killer for any algorithm. I think you propose a factor 1,000 or 10,000. So it is not something that can be tested. But so far, no drastic limit is being anticipated. In case, and we refer to what was said 30 minutes ago, in case there are some clear limitations into the performance, some corrective measures could be triggered, but we are far away from being there. NEMOs and TSOs invested a lot into the central algorithm to cope with the full cross-product matching and to keep the operational timings sustainable for the market parties, namely half an hour of calculation only, 13 minutes in addition, 1-3. In case we see drastic need to extend the operational calculation time or apply corrective measures or extend the usage of smart blocks, of course, NEMOs and TSOs will be in a reactive mode, but we have to wait for day one here. Or Maria and Timo can shed some light on that for the MSD part, but I don't believe they are connected today. but it is not something we foresee in NEMO's TSO's view that we have a drastic, up to the limit you mentioned a few months ago, increase of the usage. We have these measures that I mentioned, relax the operational constraints, apply some light corrective measures, or increase the limits of block usage, because we are not up to the limit now, of course.
Maybe can you, if not today or later on by email, just give us a view on, so you say we are not up to the limits. Is there a preliminary assessment of, where are we compared to the limits? I mean, do we talk about plus 10%, plus 20, plus 50 times 2? I mean, any order of magnitude here? That's maybe my first follow-up question. And then I think we would take this back with us and probably come back with a follow-up points. Because I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know indeed at this stage what we can foresee in terms of increase, but whether we are okay to be really in a reactive mode and wait for a potential problem to come. Maybe it would be good to still nevertheless anticipate a bit and feel where we are compared to the limits.
Yes, so it's TSOs and NEMOs already have been very, let's say, providing extensive feedback on that. So it's a multi-parameter equation from the complexity of the books up to the operational constraints, so the timing and calculation time. We have not did sensitivity yet. I see Timo connected, so you might be able to shed some light on this matter, Timo.
Yeah, thank you, Per. Helen, trying to answer. It's hard to set, like Per already replied, it's hard to set up a fixed number or a range of any of the product type, because the usage is so much interlinked between the product types, the relation between them, the volumes in the different product types offered, the market time unit used by the market participants. All these are so heavily interlinked that putting a number any number to any one of those parts will be very risky and most likely very misleading information to the market participants. I'm sorry I don't have a numbers to be provided to you, but from the algorithmic point of view, everything is interlinked and matters and impacts to each other. So we should have all the points to be sort of linked together before we could make any estimation on any of those aspects, considering the volume, whether they are in the curve orders, whether they are in the block orders, the number of the block orders, and so on, and whether it's a simple block order, exclusive groups, linked blocks, etc. It's a very, very complex optimization process, and we cannot provide the individual numbers, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay, I think we'll take this back with us and further reflect in the associations and possibly then come back to you. Okay. Yeah, the next point was still on the processes. I think it refers to the rules and procedures for the 15-minute bidding, alterations to trading system development, etc. So I think we are still expecting updated documentations on this. Maybe you can clarify if this is also to be provided centrally or locally, and if locally, I think again a clear push from the MCSC to individual NEMOs to communicate to their clients would be most welcome.
Procedures and systems, what do you mean here exactly? What is at stake, Hélène, when you mention that?
I think it refers to technical documentations, like for instance, the exact procedures for bid submission. Maybe this will also go together with the testing, but yeah.
It's a generic remark NIMOs need to make today, Hélène. We do not change the habits suddenly. So everything that is subject to bilateral discussion between members and the individual NIMOs still have to be conducted this way. There is a certain level of compilation of information or harmonization of joint processes, obviously. But the point you're referring to, API, trading system interfaces, as I understand it, obviously cannot be compiled or centralized. So it has to go through the regular channel, which is always open between a given NIMO and a given market parties. Some NIMOs already communicated on some of the aspects. The others will do so very shortly. And yes, this will be obviously part of the testing. We have to come back to you, but it is always part of the simulation environment the NIMOs are offering to their client. We will not wait for the end-to-end testing to happen a few days before go live. It has to be done way before. This is clear, but it cannot be centralized, obviously, in this channel. That you understand,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then a few last elements. The first one is on the nomination deadline. So we have had very constructive discussions at the end of 2023. I think here it's rather a call or a reminder that even with, let's say, the to be approved timing, the operations will remain a big challenge for market participants, I guess for everyone, but here I'm talking on behalf of market participants. So just to remind that it remains a very key and big challenge. So we really encourage to maintain the dialogue between TSOs and market participants on this and better anticipate than observe damages ex post. We really call here for having further checks and discussions at national level between the TSOs and market participants. I think the testing period will be really key to ensure that indeed from A to Z the processes can be run within the foreseen timings. So maybe jumping back to the testing, we also then suggest to really perform end-to-end testing, making sure that at least the timing until the nominations are tested and that everybody feels okay with the new deadlines or the timings. So no, let's say, quick points now, but rather a call for proper testing and dialogue to continue with the TSOs. There's a question on the non-EU borders. So about the capacities for their heads at, for instance, GB, Switzerland, and Serbia. To which extent will the 15-minute MTU impact that, and which changes do we have to get ready for? On JAO cable,
Yeah, here we can be really straightforward. It will never be channeled through this MCCG because it is outside of EU formally now. For now, it is a no change unless you receive an information from these separate countries in Europe, obviously, or external stakeholders.
So is it not? Maybe the question is also: do we expect any impact on the EU operations from that? I mean, or is it to consider that there's really no impact? It's a general open question.
I think I think there is, as let's say, as making the example, for example, with GB, as they have a completely separate process with the explicit auction, they are indeed not having the link. So there is no dependency. I think, however, could be that these borders envisage making a change due to the trigger of 50 minutes. But what I do know, for example, is it's also a question: what are the changes then in these respective countries? If, for example, on GB side, I don't think it's envisaged to go shortly to a lower granularity. Hence, there is then also the question if this indeed is making sense. But it's dependent a bit on what is happening in the country, and then specifically even on the borders over there, or then specifically to GB, the interconnectors, who have to trigger then this change on their side. Which from MCSC side, indeed, unfortunately, we do not have any insight, and I think it's something that we're treating somehow also independently. So these changes can happen, but they are not part of the SDAC processes, and they are therefore also quite independent in that sense.
Okay. Okay. From Zhao side, there was also questions on the cables, and I guess this refers to the UK to EU, for instance. So I think a bit a similar question. It's indeed related to the bidding for explicit capacity for the borders where there is no implicit coupling within EU. So then I guess the answer is the same.
Indeed. I think, for example, I do know that they're sometimes also subject to the products that the respective interconnectors would offer. I do know, for example, that on the Nemo Link border they are planning to go potentially to 30 minutes in intraday, but this is, let's say, more an independent choice for which they are then currently also having a consultation. But indeed, the answer is a bit similar. For it's not Zhao's plans on the cables. It's mostly, let's say, the specific interconnectors towards UK that do have the authority sometimes themselves to offer specific projects, giving the explicit auctions that are a bit more on itself and border specific, or sometimes even interconnector specific.
Okay. And then the last point is with regards to some legal provisions. There are many contracts or even subsidy schemes or elements in the regulatory framework and the legal framework that are referring to today to hourly day-ahead prices. And market participants are now feeling a bit lost and uninformed about all the changes related to the 15 minutes. Of course, I know it's not a direct point for our session here or for the MCCG, but nevertheless, it does have a link with the switch to 15 minutes. So maybe the point or the message here is again, if from MCSC there could be some information at least reported to national authorities and to national bodies about the need to inform market participants, the need to update all these legal documents and processes. So I know the question is a bit large and vague, but it's also maybe to share with you that there are still a lot of issues and uncertainties that we are facing and dealing with. And we are a bit missing information and support on this.
To help out the associations and members, Ellen here, TSOs and NEMOs are not owning, I would say, these deliverables very often. You better address right away this into the MESC, for example, where authorities are sitting officially, because they are able to trigger the change or do a gap analysis and assessment if a change is needed. Again, TSOs and NEMOs are not necessarily in the driving seat here. We are ourselves making compliance with the regulation. So NRAs or authorities are clearly the owner of such a legal provision. It should be addressed right here.
Yeah. But so as a follow-up or action point from the MCCG, we could collectively address, as an outcome takeaway of this meeting, this group, I think it would be great to address to the MESC this call for, as you said, Pierre, I think it's a very good point, a gap towards national authorities, a gap analysis, and helping us preparing the go live by covering the part that are not purely TSOs and NEMO related, and for which as market parties we have not really it's very difficult to know to whom we should address. So the MESC could maybe indeed address a call to NRAs to perform this gap analysis and ensure that there's no role in this preparation, and that all the indirect impacts are at least listed and tackled then by somebody, by yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that point. Just as a question, you refer to indeed many legal provisions. Do you have something specific in mind? Is it mostly legislation, for example, on European level, or particularly local ones?
No, but an example,
yeah,
example, but it's not an exhaustive list, but just an example that was reported by some members is, you know, on the for instance, the CFDs for RES, so the support scheme for renewable assets in the different countries, they often refer to hourly prices, to hourly spot prices. So tomorrow, what does that become? Do they still refer to then the average of the fourth quarter, or do they refer to an hourly price curve? But jumping back to the previous point, we don't have full clarity on whether hourly price curves will be provided everywhere, or, you know, it's this kind of operational and administrative elements for which we lack clarity. And it's becoming very stressful a few months before the go live. So yeah,
it's a fair question indeed. But as Pierre said, indeed, it's something where I think we can address it to the respective fora also as well. But some of which on these are not points we have in our hands indeed. But fair concern from your side, of course, fully understandable.
Okay, thank you. And I think
the homework will be more on your side, I would say, first of all, Hélène, to shed some light on the list of deliverables you identified as missing or not fit for purpose for the 15 minutes. From TSO's and NEMO's perspective, we deliver what we had to, but we are not in control of this regulatory national or regional aspects. We need your list perhaps first to have this joint message, but we believe the MESC could be the right channel, or the individual authorities, obviously.
Could we'll do it, and still I insist on maybe, you know, as a follow-up of this meeting, that from the MCCG, or we can do it from the MCCG co-chairs, but we address also this point collectively to the MESC. I think support is very much welcome here.
We can support. We definitely need a list, I would say, just to be sure nobody is speaking on behalf of another group. But to have some buy-in, we need to understand what is at stake, and we will take it from there, definitely, within the NEMOs and TSOs community.
Okay, then I think I'm done for this presentation or discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. I think we took a bit more time, but I think it's we insisted on having also input from your side towards this MCCG. So happy to give you a bit longer the floor to have at least good discussions. Mindful of time, we are now a bit behind schedule. I think we normally had foreseen still one point to discuss before the break. I would suggest we still tackle it justly before the break, or Balint, unless you have, I'm not sure if you're flexible or have some constraints, but
no flexibility, so I would prefer to tackle it before the break.
Okay, then you're deriving, then you're answering also the question. So I suggest we indeed go through the last point, which is the feedback of the decoupling training sessions, and then we still take a break of a few minutes and then reconvene for the SIDC. Balint, then the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So as MCSC, as the POPSCOM TSO chair, I would like to reflect on the decoupling training session that we have had on the 20th of March in the single day ahead coupling with market participants, and it was also successful training. The organization was established to give you the opportunity to practice some rarely occurring fallback scenarios, for instance, shadow auctions and the nomination process with the TSOs after the training. And these training sessions are also valuable opportunities for the parties to practice market coupling scenarios.
We would like to share some main observations from MCSC parties. For the training session on the 20th of March, we have noted particularly high interest from market parties. It was reported that 76 companies registered with JAO for the training. However, during the nomination phase, the TSOs have noted a much lower participation and fewer nominations from these parties. Also, from TSO side, we would like to raise some observations in the nomination process, that several nomination attempts were unsuccessful due to errors in submissions, and some examples showed missed deadlines to nominate, and in some cases incorrect XMLs were submitted for the nomination process. This would include, for example, the Kai code was missing or included illegal characters, or incorrect process types observed in these XMLs. We wanted to bring these observations to light because we hope that if these are pointed out, then in the next session, perhaps more successful nominations could be submitted to TSOs and the process could be practiced more effectively. And basically, the aim of my session today is to discuss the usefulness of the trainings and to inquire on other scenarios that might be interesting for market participants to perform. And yeah, before we go to that part, just a note that the next session will not be organized by SDAC OPSCOM, but will be performed as part of the day at 50-minute MTU market participant testing. So yeah, I would hope to receive questions if you have any.
Yeah, I think we have a slide. So maybe I quickly present it and share some feedback. First of all, I think market participants, so we made some internal discussion within the associations and wanted to share some feedback. So members are fully convinced that decoupling sessions are really essential to be ready to face a potential decoupling, and we now see it can happen. It's a good exercise to check the readiness, so check the required access, connection to platforms and so on. Ensure the configuration in the nomination that they are still up to date. So here I think referring to the shadow auctions. Test communication with the different TSOs. I think what is requested is to have more session, so more regular session. Not to wait 2025 testing for the 15-minute for sure. This is perceived as really too long, and to include a testing session in the 15-minute MTU, so to anticipate the go live of the 15-minute, and also within the framework of the testing session for the 15 to organize a decoupling session within the 15-minute framework, so that we also are prepared for a potential decoupling at the go live of the 15-minute, but that we do not wait, you see, the go live of the 15 minutes for testing it in the new environment. It's not on the slide, but I think the timing should maybe also be checked, because some members say that I'm not fully sure now whether the testing was organized at around 4 p.m. and this was perceived as a bit late for some members. Not all of them gave this feedback, but some of them. So maybe an advice would be to, I don't know, make a quick poll or check the timing for the future test. And I think that's mainly it. So really having more session is welcome.
Okay, so I will take that back with me, this suggestion to have more sessions, and also we are going to look into when the next one is going to be organized. So this I will be able to confirm, of course, later. What I also wanted to point out specifically on the request on the 15-minute configuration to be tested. That, for example, I understand that the shadow auctions are one of the most sought after feature to test, but the shadow auctions will not be in 50-minute MTU. Even after 50-minute MTU go live, they will be in a 60-minute MTU. So just to want to have that clarified that those will not have this 50-minute change. But yes, thank you very much for the points raised, and this I will take back to ESDAC Opscom, of course.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any further point?
Not from my side, and I'm checking the chat. I don't see points on the testing. So I guess that's it for now.
Yeah, seems like it. Well, thank you very much then for the attention.
Okay, good. Then I think we can end the first session. I think, Christina, we're a bit behind schedule, but should we then keep a 10-minute break, or we make it a bit shorter? I would suggest we still reconvene at 25.
25, yes, I
yeah,
think
25
just
sharp.
Short
Yeah,
technical break. Yeah,
technical
okay.
break indeed. And at 25 we start sharp because we still have many things to tackle. All right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I think we are at 25. I would suggest we continue indeed with the first experiences of the intraday go live that we had on for the 14th of June. Martin, Jaime will give you the floor, and then afterwards also from Hélène from Market Party side, some reactions are also welcome. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And also Jean-Michel. So on the 13th of June, there's the go live of IDAS. This launch was already with 15 minutes in quite a few different borders and bidding zones from the start, unlike continuous intraday trading, which required 4 separate waves between 2018 and 22. This covered the entire geographical scope in one big bang for the intraday markets. This project involved developments, modifications, testing on 4 central systems and 3 regional systems, and numerous local systems for each participating NEMO and TSO, totaling 40 parties and over 80 local systems. Also coordinating with dozens of different service providers at project level. So this was a very big endeavor. And the testing, to note that there were thousands of test cases focused on system performance, integration, readiness, and hundreds of hours of intense testing and development effort. On the go live per se, in the first 7 days of operation, the IDAs were deemed successful, except for the first, due to an initial local technical challenge, which was resolved before the second one by the operators on duty. And at this moment, we're continuously evaluating and monitoring the IDA's robustness from Opscom side and across the project to improve continuously and to ensure the continuous stability. With this initial experience, we are already implementing further timing optimizations into the central systems so as to speed up the process and decrease risk. And we will continue to monitor and improve operational efficiency with each IDA, and this is being done on a IDA by IDA basis and weekly basis to review all metrics. Then our idea here was to bring a very high-level approach to the IDAs, as this presentation was very short time after the IDAs go live, and to show that the effort that was put into this and that from a central level this was delivered, and it was delivered with stability. But more information and more structured data should come up in a future period for MCCG. And Jean-Michel, if you would like to add anything here.
No, that's a good summary indeed, and we have seen that since now, except for indeed for the first IDA auction, which was cancelled due to some initial delay in the release of the process, all the other ones were successful, except of course the IDA 3 sooner this week, but we have already discussed that specific point. So basically, indeed, that was, at least for a lot of TSOs and NIMOs participating in this project, that was probably one of the most complex market coupling projects since the beginning. So that was a great achievement in our side.
Hélène, you
Yeah,
wanted
yes, it's me.
to
Yeah,
shed some light?
So we prepared also some feedback following the go live of the auction. So it's a collection of various feedback from the members. So our first point is about the testing, and I think lessons learned and to take with us for the future testing for the 15 minutes. There was some observation that the simulation environment of some NIMOs was not always available before the IDA go live, and some parties found that the member testing was too short, and there were some testing, or most of the testing, cancelled apparently. So they complained that they could not really test their application in a decent way. So I think it would be worth than asking all the NIMOs to further investigate that with their members, with their clients. Since the go live, and there was a delay on the publication of the curves and blocks for the delivery on the 14th of June. And we also noted some inconsistencies between the data published on JAO and ENTSO-E for the IDA2, so the IDCCB values. It's of course not directly linked with the go live, but we just want to remind that the published value are very important for us. On the nomination, we observed a change of spirit or logic used by ECC for physical deliveries in Germany and Austria for the volumes traded on IDAs. And we regret a lack of communication on this before the go live. So then there is detail on what happened. So the intraday volumes have been historically been nominated against ECC intraday perimeters, and for the IDAs there was a communication, but on the day that it should have now been nominated versus ECC DE8 perimeter, and it has of course then system implications for market participants. And we would have appreciated to get this validated before or not by other members. On the observation of liquidity, it's perceived as low, especially in smaller bidding zones such as Belgium and the Netherlands, higher in Germany, higher in France. And in general, this low liquidity has led to an increase in the number of PRBs since the go live. And then to finish on the next slide, on the cancellation, so we indeed noticed that the IDA 1 was cancelled. In terms of communication related to this cancellation, we observe not an harmonized, or let's say a same standard of communication from all NIMOs. So some communicated later than others. So maybe to improve in the future is a harmonization of communication standards. There was some unclarity noticed. So partial decoupling was announced, but then all regions were decoupled. Market parties would like more clarity on the events. The testing conducted previously did not really help to understand this cancellation. And on the fallback, it's perceived that thanks to the opening of XBit and the fact that it was running smoothly, it was okay. On the IDA2, some delays was experienced in the clearing, but then it went well. Then there is this cancellation raises the question about backup options, and we received the feedback from only some market participants, so it's not a common view at this stage, but some market parties support the introduction of local auctions, at least for Germany, and some other rather say that XBit is a good backup, so there is a mixed view here. On the general feedback, it's perceived by the market that trading or hedging in the intraday is now more complex because you have to deal with the two channels. There is a large bid-ask spread observed in the during the time of auction in the uncoupled periods in XBit. So a risk of lower liquidity is perceived because indeed the continuous trade has to be interrupted for the time of the auction. I mean, but this was anticipated and has always been the main fear of market participants with regards to the IDAs. On the exchange side, there seems to be some confusion related to border capacities. And the timing, so we see some unclarity related to the delivery period of the auction. For instance, 23 for the auction that happens at 3 p.m. Sometimes it's referred to as ramping hours. Sometimes the capacities are put at 0 for this hour and sometimes not. So, and this is apparently mainly affecting regions where the auctions is at hourly granularity. So a point to clarify. On the Iberian region, there was an issue. So XBit was suspended a day between the IDA1 and IDA2 without communication. So here we would welcome explanation on what happens. This was reported by some Iberian members of the association. And for limiting the impact of the auction to the continuous trading, for the future, market parties would appreciate to work and identify, seek ways to shorten the interruption window. Then there were some IT problems with the auction API at some NEMOs during the testing. So I guess, sorry, we should have put that in within the testing points. And also some positive feedback that there was helpful and prompt customer support from some NEMOs to their customers who had issues or questions.
Okay,
Should I
Jean-Michel, you want to react?
already answer to some of this one? I have already some answer. And I will let some colleagues to provide additional feedback afterwards. So maybe for ID1 cancellation, I could explain what happened and also why they were different message. In fact, both message with partial decoupling and cancellation were correct because there were a first issue with one NEMOs not able to provide the information in due time, which leads to the partial decoupling of these NEMOs. And according to the procedure, when one NEMO is decoupled, several other NEMOs will decouple also because there is no time for market parties to change their bid. There is no reopening of order book. So that's a choice of individual NEMOs, but most of the NEMOs will decoupled. So there were only two NEMOs remaining in the system, which was GME and NX, but there were a second issue during the confirmation process where we reached the maximum timing, which means that the full auction was decoupled. But that's explained why we have the two information. First, the NEMOs being decoupled provide information that there were a partial decoupling of their NEMOs, and then later on there were the cancellation, the full cancellation of IDA. I think at 1527. So that was in line with procedure. But of course, that was a bit unfortunate to have these two incidents in a row for the first IDA. Hopefully that was solved and we didn't have the same issue afterwards. For the 13th of June, that was also indeed some specific small delay in the validation of the result, where we applied the backup and the system, and that was solved in 2-3 minutes. So the message for delay was sent according to the procedure, but everything was fixed before the deadline of 27 after the gate closure time. So that's also why the auction was not cancelled, but that's part of the procedure. There is a lot of procedure there in order to anticipate a specific issue and be sure that everything is fixed, considering that the timing is quite short for the coupling coupling phase. So that's also why this message for delay in market coupling result sometimes could happen, but that does not mean that there will be cancellation. That doesn't mean that there will be cancellation of the IDA. For the backup, indeed, the regulation told us that we should block the continuous trading only 20 minutes before and 20 minutes after the gate closure time, with derogation of 30 minutes for 1 year. So there is no time to have a local backup auction. So the best backup and the agreed backup in the procedure is that we continue with continuous trading after IDA, even when IDA is cancelled. There is also other backup, which is, for instance, IDA 2 and IDA 3, which was not existing in Germany because Germany was mentioned in the question. So currently in Germany, there were mostly only IDA 1 as a local auction. So there were also one question on the previous page linked to difference between the publication on transparency platform and the JAO publication tool for core. That could happen sometimes now. I know that core colleagues are currently trying to speed up the process, but there is really a really short time windows to compute the capacities, 6 minutes in core. And that could happen that the capacities is sent some seconds after the deadline of 15 minutes before gate closure time. And in such case, JAO contains the correct publication, but ENTSO-E is still the old one. So for instance, the capacity provided by the core TSO at 3 o'clock. At 55, there is an update of the capacity. So on ETP, after the auction, in all cases, the capacity are aligned with JAO. But that was some days during the previous months. There were some small delay like this, and there is currently specific action taken into account by core colleagues in order to try to avoid this issue. But that's something more on the capacity calculation side, and that should be managed at core level with the core TSO. For nomination and ECC, I will let other people to reply because indeed there is sometimes some difference, but that's not directly for MCSE. And for liquidity, indeed, there is a lot of difference of liquidity seen now, but also difference of liquidity depending of the hour. And if I take the example of Belgium, of course, I could have checked, and the days were not really too complicated, and so the appetite for IDA was still quite low. but we could already see that for some specific market time units, the volume could be quite high, and also with a lot of difference between the two NEMOs. So that's something that will change in the past, and I'm pretty sure that IDA volume will increase also in the future, knowing that the capacity is delivered before the IDA, and then the remaining volume, the remaining capacity after the IDA is provided to continuous trading. If you come back to the next slide, yeah, for the testing, I know that there were also some, that's more for some typical NEMOs, but there is also testing of 15 minutes on some border, which will go live in 1st of July, where the testing was also impacted by that one. So that could also explain, but that's more to individual NEMOs to reply if that was the case for some of them. Normally, that was when I followed the testing, most of the NEMOs were ready to participate during the member test. So that will be probably so for some specific days in case of local issue. And on the next slide, yeah, for the second bullet point for the general feedback, there is indeed some specific case for interconnector with ramping, mostly in the Nordic, where there is a need to not go over the ramping limit between the day-ahead and the intraday, and also between intraday auction 1 and intraday auction 2, considering for intraday auction 2 the capacity allocated previously. That's also why on some interconnector, and I think that was mentioned in the slide in the previous MCCG by Martim or Rémi, there is some specific interconnector where the 23 to midnight period is also blocked for the current day in order to avoid to have this overload of the ramping limit. Of course, when the interconnector will move to 15 minutes, this blocking period will be shortened to 15 minutes instead of 1 hour. And yeah, for Iberian region, I will let some other NEMOs to provide feedback because I'm not aware. And yeah, for impact on continuous trading, 40 minutes, we are currently really processing all the coupling in 20 minutes. This is quite challenging. Most of the case we succeed, but sometimes there is still 1 or 2 minutes delay. There is a lot of work also to see how we could still, after the go live, enhance the process and shorten also some specific timing. But this is really complex algorithm. Compared to the rate, we are already quite good with maximum 7 minutes for the algorithm to clear all the Europe in different granularity. So yeah, but that's an ongoing work in order to try to speed up the process and reduce this 20 minutes of coupling. For the 20 minutes before the gate closure time, to be aware that there is also a lot of work needed for TSO, and TSO should also publish a capacity 15 minutes before the gate closure time. So that's quite complicated to provide the capacity for the auction 15 minutes before if there is still trading ongoing. So that's also why there is some limit in the reduction. But this is a work ongoing. Yeah, and that's all for my side. So I will let maybe Pierre or Martim or other colleagues to provide additional feedback.
Thank you, Jean-Michel, for your expertise and your the light you shed on this successful go live 2 weeks ago. Again, it's an unprecedented project, major cooperation between market parties, NEMOs and TSOs. And yes, the operational timings are so ambitious that we can be proud of what we delivered. Further optimization might come. It is under discussion, but we should not expect a drastic reduction. No? You know, a factor 2 is just not possible. Let's be really clear. And the regulation was already very much ambitious for that, for this point. So the TSOs and NEMOs already optimized everywhere they could. again, congratulations for all the troops for this big success 2 weeks ago, clearly. All right, if nothing more, we can continue. Oh, Cosimo, please jump in.
Yes, sorry, going back to a point discussed before the coffee break. I've been reported, honestly, I missed that during the discussion, that there was a request to clarification if for the 15 minutes go live for the intraday at the beginning of next year, there are already fixed dates. I think you saw that there are not yet predefined dates. We are targeting for the time being month of January. That means that we all would like to exclude strange days like typically the 1st of January, but this is still under assessment. So just to manage expectations, this is still in the process of being defined. So as soon as there will be a formal decision, that will be shared with you, just to manage expectation with respect to what has been said before.
Thank you, Cosimo. We put it in the bucket of the deliverables that TSOs and NEMOs need to work out together with the member testing aspects. We need to define the dates of basically each of the windows that we presented this morning. A precise go-live date. A month is sufficient for now for intraday to come back with clear dates. Okay, let's move on. Methodologies. I do think we have Chiara together with us to shed some light on the progress made with regards to the ongoing consultations and product methodology updates. Are you connected, Chiara?
Pierre, just in the meantime, I see that the recording has stopped. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but on my computer, I don't see it anymore. I don't know if it's only me. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to be sure that members could follow afterwards, but all good then.
Good morning, Chiara. Please jump in.
Sorry, I just had a Wi-Fi connection problem just now, but okay, hopefully we are still here. Good morning, everybody. I will make a very short presentation about the main changes which are proposed by NEMO to the SDAC and SIDC product methodology. Starting with the SIDC product methodology, the NEMO approved our updated version at the end of May, and the text is currently under public consultation up to the 4th of July, because the request for market participant has been followed, and the deadline has been extended up to the 4th of July. All the relevant documents are available, of course, at the NEMO committee website, and the results of the public consultation are expected by the mid of July. Which is our main intention with this update. The main updates of this proposal are intended to harmonize the provision for the 15 minutes MTU introduction in IDAS with the same provision for the day ahead. This is done in particular because the same algorithm is used both for day ahead and IDAS. So in principle, the same algorithmic functionality and products can be used both in SIDC and in IDAS and SDAC. Nevertheless, due to the time schedule of IDAS, in order to preserve the good market functioning and meaningful price promotion process, NEMO could adopt a different selection of all the available optional products in IDAS with respect to the SDAC. But coming to what we put in the methodology, we follow the same approach we had in the SDAC product methodology. We try to improve and clarify the wording. We added whereas points in order to accommodate the go live of 15 minutes MTU. We added the content in order to clarify the acceptance and rejection criteria of cube orders depending on their time granularity. we explicitly added the possibility to combine linked and exclusive groups block orders. This was not prevented from the previous version, but we make clear that this is possible. And we also clarify that this complex block order can be referred to simple block orders defined over different time granularities. Then we remove the section related to the complex order in the event of the introduction in IDAS of the scalable complex orders. And so we added also a description for the scalable complex orders. Finally, we included the appendix with the list of the NIMOs to which this methodology apply for. And all these changes are quite in line with the one we already reported in this DAC product methodology. And as I say, the main intention here is an harmonization between the two methodologies. So if we do not have questions about this, we have just other few slides related to this DAC product methodology. Yeah, here we are in the process of, we have submitted our updated version for ACER approval. Now the ACER is in the amendment process and the decision is expected by September 2024. Currently, we are managing several working level meetings with ACER in order to improve some of our provision and also maybe something that we propose could change. I could just make a very brief summary in the following slide. Okay. In our proposal, we confirm the PUN order removal starting from the 1st of January 2025. We clarified also here, as I said before, that the simple block order defined over different MTU can be part of a complex block orders. We retained a simplified description about the rejection and acceptance criteria of curves order depending on their time granularity. But concerning the specific point, let me stress that during the discussion with ACER on this part of the methodology, maybe this part could be improved. In particular, most probably there will be added a definition for the term MTU, defined as the shortest time interval for which the market price is established. In this context, the term MTU will be referred only to 15 minutes and all the others 30 and 60 minutes will be referred as periods. This is just in order to make clear the context, but okay, this is something which is ongoing and is linked with the current discussion with ACER. In our proposal, we maintained our the proposal of keeping 6 months fallback period after the 15 minutes go live for the complex order. Also, this provision maybe will not be present in the final decision of ACER, while most probably, yes, the algorithm will support the complex order up to the go live of 15 minutes MTU. If we go to the other slide, regarding the proposal from the respondents that were not included in our final update, there was the proposal to, let's say, promote complex block order to mandatory products. This cannot be done because, as said in many other occasions, this split among mandatory and optional product has been done by ACER decision, and the reason for that is that the mandatory products are the one which represent the minimum legal requirement in order to accomplish the CACM provision, and in this context, the complex orders cannot be complex block orders cannot be considered mandatory one or minimum legal requirement to achieve their goal. Then we had another request related to the increase of blocks per portfolio. we recognize that NIMOS recognized the complexity introduced by the 15 minutes MTU, but up to now, NIMOS would like to follow a conservative approach. So up to now, we didn't foresee any changing the parameter. Of course, so all these things could be reevaluated following a standard RFC process after the go live, after gaining an adequate experience about the process. And finally, another question from respondents were to introduce the complex block order in Iberia. This cannot be done by NIMOS. We cannot accommodate this request since the selection of optional product, as has been stressed, optional but also mandatory, as has been stressed before, is a local decision, and it's out of the scope of the updated methodologies. For this reason, this couldn't be taken into account. Then I see maybe some question in the chat. Exactly, yeah, there is a question saying that if it's correct that PUN order will be removed as of 1st of January, regardless the date of the 15 minutes go live. This is true. We try to clarify this in the explanatory note of the public consultation documents, relating this to all the provision of the law in Italy, which foresees this process. I don't know if there is any other question.
No, Chiara, I think we did not get anything else. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We go back to the holistic view of the implementation roadmap of SDAC SIDC. And we have our chairs together with us today. Andre, I think you might be the one today.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. Happy also to follow the discussion. Highly interesting. So you have maybe participated to the discussion in one or the other forum on the prioritization or the establishment of a roadmap for market coupling moving forward. So in that sense, we already had communicated in the past that TSOs and NIMOS are committed to provide forward a roadmap, which at this point in time is essentially focused on the time windows 2024 and 2025, where we have a very solid understanding of the major projects, the IDAs which we just went live with, Nordic flow-based 15 minutes, etc. So there are quite some major projects where we have visibility and also minor projects in terms of workload, which are also very clear how to approach them. On top of that, we started off last year an exercise with ASA and market participants in the course of the MESC discussion to see how the future could look like, where we also addressed the windows of 26 and 27. In light of that, we presented all projects to which we have currently knowledge and assessed those projects in order to put them into a timeline where, with all the information that is at our disposal at this point in time, obviously, the more we look into the future, it is difficult that we also get the full commitment from the relevant local projects. As from our side, we are essentially gathering all information that we receive and try to incorporate them as much as possible into the timeline moving forward. However, in the discussion that we had so far, we were somewhat surprised that ASA came to the conclusion that we did not provide all information according to their requirements, whereas the core region, to their understanding, did, and the Nordic CCR apparently also failed to do so, while we were in multiple direct communications to them, adapting for several times our way of presenting the information that is our disposal, while starting with a full-fledged table for day and intraday, condensed it multiple times to suit also, PowerPoint presentation styles. So we are somewhat surprised that this is now played against us, and we are very happy that also the market participants helped us to somewhat understand also their requirements on those matters. So nonetheless, we are open to continue the discussion to understand also the requirements of the regulators, of ACER, of the Commission, market parties, the local projects moving forward in their planning of going live. Obviously, there are major projects in the pipeline. Nonetheless, they need to be managed well, which always puts us in this position that we have to rely on the information that we receive. In order to move forward, we understand that this discussion will continue also in the MESC to further refine the coming years. So in that sense, we are open and invite all parties to also join this discussion to see how a more proper planning can take place, particularly in the timeframes 26 and 27. In addition to that, maybe also last point here for that slide, we are continuously looking at the organization, the resources at our disposal, and the lessons learned of recent major go-lives, or even the minor ones, to see whether and to what extent, from a central project perspective, operationalization or the optimization of the onboarding and the go-lives can be incorporated. That obviously also need the buy-in of the local projects to come together in order to make those projects go live in the appropriate windows. Maybe final words here. We have also somewhat adapted our way of working, where we will focus in the future more on a window approach, where certain projects will receive a time window which opens and it closes at a certain point in time, in order also to ensure that the proper resources are available from their side and we can go live in the window without disturbing or holding up future projects to go live in a timing manner. But this is obviously a simple concept if you just look from the meta on it, but operationally and testing wise, it's rather complex because you have to also foresee multiple outcomes. So in that sense, we are doing our utmost to ensure that timely preparation and onboarding is possible. Maybe moving to the next slide, you can already see how we now move forward by using a proper planning tool, plus continuously updating those information that receives us, and ensuring that also market parties are able to understand that certain updates have been incorporated, by adding that also then to the timeline in order to continue to refine the understanding of the local projects of us, but also you, what is coming and to what extent we can ensure that the timely and robust operation of the project is secured. On the last page, we have provided a high-level timeline. Yeah, there is a high-level timeline of key projects that we have that are relevant also for market participants. Obviously, we will have also multiple implementation projects going on, which are more under the surface, like the maintenance and further enhancement of the central systems, which are somewhat invisible to the market participants. And therefore, we have taken the time, somewhat also with the guidance of ACER, to provide an overview on an annual basis on major projects, and will continue to ensure that the time window, particularly 26 and 27, will be then further sketched out to ensure that this is also properly followed up. Obviously, the more we look in the future, the more difficult it is, because certain elements are somewhat out of our hand, the ability of service providers, the R&D, or national or pan-European political debates, for example, in the energy community country, to which we like to adapt and help their onboarding. But obviously, this is a way out of our hands to ensure that also this happens in that way. So obviously, we are open to discussions, and if any of the other chairs would like to add, then this is also an opportunity right now.
Good. And obviously, those slides are public again. Huh? We mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting. It's on ENTSO-E and NEMO community website already as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Let's continue the journey. So time is running. And we have 20 minutes plus before the end of the meeting, including contingency and AOB. We have this section on co-optimization. So we go from this holistic Stack SIDC roadmap view to an R&D topic for the SDAC part. We have a NEMO TSO presentation, and we have a market participant message as well. Can we agree, Timo and Hélène, that we basically take 10 minutes, so 5 and 5, to go through this document? Is that something we can?
Yes, and on our side, it will be Lorenzo from Energy Traders that will present our main messages, but I think we can be quick and to the point.
Okay, let's do it. Timo.
Thank you. And good, I think it's by all, good afternoon, almost all by now. So in a very, very brief background, Acer has made a very firm proposal or request that in the future, the balancing capacity and the day-ahead market should be merged in the co-optimization process. So very late last year, SDAC MSD and Acer had a first discussion what to do, how to go forward with the topic, and eventually then during the first half of the year, we have set up a SDAC MSD subgroup for co-optimization, a dedicated task force to look the technical details on the implementation and design. So at this phase, we are running a conceptual study among the NEMOs and TSOs jointly on what will it mean in practice to implement a co-optimized solution into the day ahead. What are the potential pros, what are the potential cons? And we have initially drafted some of the key use cases we need to look in a priority, looking how the bidding may go forward, what is the bidding structure, how that will impact the performance and potential results. And we will hand over the work to Insight as a service provider by end of September, and then they will run the simulations by end of the year, and then we will prepare the documentation early part of 2025. So for the market participants, our intent between NEMOs and TSOs to use this MCCG forum to work together with you, share the information as we progress with it, and gather your feedback. The two key points on your view on the actual impact to the market of the implementation if it goes live at some point. And then later on, we will start sharing with you the details of the target implementation, and we will then ask your feedback on that. And for the next steps, I think I already covered those, but anyway, during the upcoming MCCG meetings, I assume that we will have one in the fall timeframe, yet another in the spring 2025. We will provide you additional information, and based on current estimation, we will prefer to have a more in-depth discussion during the first half of 25 to capture more detailed view from the market participants on the topic. So that's in very short. Any immediate questions, or will you take it forward from here, Ellen?
Yes, it will be Lorenzo that will present the slide from market participants. I don't know, Lorenzo, I see you. Yeah, okay, good.
I'm here. Thanks, Len. Good afternoon, everyone. So on the market participant side, we appreciated the latest ACER study, of course, but still we see some more research to do. So in this sense, we appreciate that NEMOs and TSOs are committed to further R&D. For us, it's really key that we reduce complexity due to this huge project, which is optimization, the impact it will have on market participants bidding. In the study, we saw some space for improvement, especially on the data maybe that it was used and the assumptions made. So even here, we're also happy to support NEMOs and TSOs to show the impact this optimization can have on certain assets, namely storage and demand response. No problem. For that, we can gather some experts within the associations for that. We need more research to ensure that there is true welfare creation by considering all the constraints, all time frames that maybe were perhaps undervalued in the study. So our recommendation for the way forward, if we go to the next slide, please, is to include the market participants in the design definition. So again, happy to collaborate with the NEMOs and TSOs, starting with scoping and definition of the needs in general. And our recommendation, we said this in the mask, we'll say this today in the MCCG, we'll say this probably in any forum, is to put on hold the implementation work until technical feasibility is proven by NEMOs, TSOs. And maybe also to ACER, do not rush in any deadline for implementation or prioritization. We're happy to further discuss this in the MESC and MCCG, also after the study that was recently published. That's it from my side. I hope it was short enough, and again, some seconds. Thank you.
Yes, we do have also Gerard from TSO side. I think if we can go back from TSOs, we do have also a statement on the co-optimization. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So from the TSO side, we think that co-optimization will strongly affect the procurement of balancing capacity, and as such, system balancing, which of course is essential for reliable system operation. Meaning that the impact of SDAC on system operation becomes much more direct if you do co-optimization. So far, focus from the ACER side has been very much on the increased welfare effect of co-optimization, and to some extent bid structures. And although from a theoretical point of view, co-optimization can be expected to increase welfare, TSO see the benefit as less probable than the ACER study suggests, because we think that the way they have modeled the alternative solution being market-based, the market-based approach is incorrect or unrealistic. So we think actually the market-based approach will function much better than the ACER study suggests. Besides the welfare effects, there are also many other issues that should be clarified. For instance, pricing. The study does not talk very much about pricing, but because of the non-convex nature of the problem, prices are not the natural outcome of the optimization. And how can you determine satisfactory prices from the viewpoint of incentives for bidding and investment, fairness, etc.? How do we ensure that sufficient balancing capacity is always available for operation in all bidding zones? What if the co-optimized balancing capacity market will not clear or SDAC does not clear? How can we be sure that we do have the required balancing capacity? What kind of fallback solutions are available? And market operation and the impact on market participants, as already has been mentioned now. Moreover, the ACER study is a bit backward looking because they only consider generation units, while impacts on storage and demand response, which we believe will become very important providers of balancing capacity, is not analyzed at all in this study. As a summary, the TSOs acknowledge the theoretically positive effects of co-optimization and are willing to play a constructive role in further assessment and development, which, however, is very much needed and will take time. The above related issues should be solved before making a final decision about the implementation of co-optimization, which I think is very much in line with what the market participants just said. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gerard. Thanks also, Elaine and Lorenzo, on the statements made. So I think indeed it's a clear, I think the topic of optimization has been also discussed at other fora. I think it's clear that, let's say, messages are a bit aligned, and hopefully there's also a point where on the regulator side can be taken care of. We think we can continue discussing, but mindful of time, I would suggest we go to the next agenda topic, which is indeed the AOB. And I don't see also other questions apart. Sorry, indeed, going to the chat, indeed, I see that the alignment with market parties is indeed supported. So that's a point that we will then also take away and see how this can be facilitated. Mindful, of course, that this is always not so easy, given the way of bidding is sometimes also subject to confidentiality and within market parties itself. But point taken, I think it's clear. Okay. Then, as an AOB, it's a point that was also raised by market parties with regards to an impact of the electricity market design reform that has been published this month by European Commission, where one specific point is an adjustment that will be made to the clean energy package, so the regulation of 2019, where the change is foreseen that as from 1st January 26, the intraday cross-zonal gate closure time shall not be more than 30 minutes ahead of real time. So that's, let's say, the starting point where there could be possible derogations subject to a justification of TSOs towards the NRAs, which then have to grant a derogation potentially towards 29. This is a point that has been recently published. TSOs have been aware, but and it's to inform US market parties that this is something we are fully aware of and where we are taking action to see how the impact is there, what would be the impacts on different systems. And then on our side, we are indeed currently assessing this implementation approach for how it will impact and how the switch towards 30-minute intraday closure time can be facilitated, not only on the central level, but also on different local and regional systems, as the impact is much broader than only on the MCSC side. So that's something that we are doing. Also, the fact that if a derogation might be required, which will require significant assessment, also involvement of NEMOs, for example, is an evaluation ongoing on the national level. So it's a responsibility of each national TSO to do such an evaluation and then submit a request for derogation towards its NRA. So this is an impact assessment that is ongoing. It is something where on MCSC TSO level, we are trying to foresee some facilitation and coordination, but it's a responsibility of each TSO. So we will try to foresee some clarification or reporting towards the MCCG end of this year, already indicating towards market parties that this is something TSOs are very much aware of, as it's a very impacting change, and that we're fully assessing it. But the provision to provide overview is something that is a regional or TSO national responsibility. And this is an aspect that we will try to provide clarity on then towards the MCCG in Q4 of this year. So that's as an answer to a request received by market parties. I think it was also via ULN that we received it. So it's a point that we are well taking care of, and sharing here the status of what is ongoing in the background currently among TSOs.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah,
we see the same, let's say, pattern as for the intraday capacity calculation. It is very much a regional or national duty and responsibility. We are only here doing a compilation of information in the MCCG. But if you come back end of the year, it is very much appreciated for this compilation. Any question on this point?
I don't see the question of Jerome is one on the testing.
Yeah, no, it's on there is a point from Jerome on the go live date for the 15-minute MTU with the daylight saving time. I think to consider this as a as an important factor to not have the go live at the same moment as the DST. So I think it's a point we really need to consider, to take with us together.
Okay. I think as many of the points shared also with regards to the member testing, these are inputs that we will take into account within the respective working groups that are taking care of the planning. We will have to lay down the puzzle and check indeed how this fits towards the next go live date. That can be then towards the go live date in 25. Taking the constraints, we are of course also mindful of the regulatory obligation and compliance that we have to take care of. So I think for sure this might be a discussion where we might also have to involve regulators to some extent. And then I do also see a question of Mathieu.
Yeah, it is on the 15 minutes impact on the cross-border gates. If you can shed some light, Thomas or Jean-Michel. I'm not sure we answered it before. Yeah. I suspect not.
No, indeed. So indeed, the move to 15 minutes means also move to 96 gate. So this is part of the process. And as already explained in some other body, that will be probably the case of most of border, but for some border, this move to 96 gate will be done in the second step. But that's still the enduring setup, as this is mandatory indeed to move to 96 gate, or to have the same 60-minute gate closure time before 60-minute neutralization time before each MTU, which could be done only with 96 gate. Of course, taking into account what Thomas explained with the 30-minute gate closure time, this is also needed to be 96 gate before, otherwise that does not make any sense.
So I hope, Mathieu, that answered your question. At least I think it does. So that's indeed the way how we plan to go live with these 96 gates. All right, then I think we are through the AOB. And I don't think there are any other points. I don't see also any other questions at the moment. So let me double check. Yes, all right. So then I think we can go to the last slide, Patricia, which are I think the closing remarks. So I think as mentioned, we will take care of the questions, try to address also, identify the answers that have been given either via the chat or during the session itself. The meetings will be made available on the NEMO Committee and ENTSO-E website. And I would like to thank all of you for the active participation, all members or all participants joining. I think we had up to 300 people joining, so that showed really the interest. And also thank you to Elaine, Lorenzo, and all the other Salim, and all the other parties active from market party sides that to the preparation. I think we are really still trying to improve, but having an active engagement with market parties is essential. I think given the many questions we had, we can try to answer as many as possible. We are not able to try to answer all of them, but at least having the discussion and the engagement is already better than having none. That's absolutely clear, and that's also the trajectory that from MCSC side via MCCG we absolutely want to continue with. So that's a bit at least my takeaway, and I think we will continue to do so as we have been done before. We will try to do better as well. But again, thank you as well, and I will leave the floor to you, Helene, to do some concluding remarks as well, and Pierre perhaps also for the finalization.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this session. I think it has been very important. We covered very important topics. As takeaways, I see we have a few points to bring with us. The next milestones will be obviously the discussions on the implementation of the 15-minute MTU, and in particular having clarity on the testing and the next steps. So we really need to continue working on that. And I just also wanted to let you know that for the second half of this year, The market participant co-chair will be Selim Bousseta, so the chair of the working group Market Integration and Network Code at Eurelectric. So he will continue the co-chairing on behalf of Eurelectric for the second part of this year. So feel free to contact Selim if there's any point you would like to bring from the market side, and then Selim will be able to liaise with the other co-chairs for bringing the topics.
Good.
Okay,
Thanks, Luke.
yes.
Nothing to add. Thank you for your participation, and rendezvous in the coming months for the next MCCG then.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.